You're welcome. This is another quiz time, and in this section, we will be looking at some structured questions that are related to the scapula. I've put up a lecture on the scapula. I would advise you check it up first before attempting this quiz. And attempting this quiz will prepare us for questions that are related to the scapula in any examination. The first question we'll be looking at here reads, dash and dash are connected to the scapula. So what are the two bones connected to the scapula? Is it the clavicle and the rib? Is it the humerus and the axis? The axis is the second cervical vertebra. Is it the clavicle and the atlas? The atlas is the first cervical vertebra. Or is it the humerus and the clavicle? The two bones that are connected to the scapula are the humerus and the clavicle. The humerus is seen to be connected to the scapula through the glenoid fossa, while the clavicle is connected to the scapula through the acromion. We've tried to establish this in our lecture on the scapula. The second question here reads that the inferior angle of the scapula is related to dash. Is it related to the latissimus dorsi muscle? Is it related to the deltoid muscle? Is it related to the serratus anterior muscle, or is it related to the superior transverse scapular ligament? The correct answer here as it relates to the inferior angle of the scapula and also the structure that is related to it is the latissimus dorsi muscle. The third question here reads, dash is not attached to the scapula. Is it the pectoralis minor? Is it the deltoid muscle? Is it the pectoralis major, or is it the trapezius? Out of all these muscles, the one that is not attached to the scapula is the pectoralis major muscle. This muscle is not seen to be connected to the scapula, and this is the correct option. So let's go to the fourth question, and this reads that the infraglenoid tubercle is related to dash. Is it related to the medial head of the triceps brachii? Is it related to the long head of the triceps brachii? Is it related to the lateral head of the triceps brachii? Or is it all of the above? The infraglenoid tubercle is a tubercle that is located or seen at the inferior region of the glenoid fossa. And this is related to the long head of the triceps brachii muscle. I tried to also highlight this in our previous lecture on the scapula. So now let's go to the fifth question, and this reads that the suprascapular notch is related to what? Is it related to the axillary artery? Is it related to the suprascapular artery? Is it related to the thyrocervical trunk? Or is it related to the suprascapular nerve? The correct answer here as it relates to the suprascapular notch is the suprascapular nerve. The suprascapular nerve is what is related to the suprascapular notch. The suprascapular artery is not seen to pass through the suprascapular notch, but it is seen to run above the superior transverse scapular ligament. This ligament transforms the suprascapular notch into the suprascapular foramen that allows for the passage of the suprascapular. Now, we've also tried to highlight this in details in our lecture on the scapula. The sixth question here reads, which of the following statements about the scapula is correct? Is it that it has a convex anterior surface, or is it that it is located in the anterior lateral region of the trunk? It is an easily fractured bone, or is it that it forms part of the shoulder girdle? The correct option here as it relates to the scapula is that it forms part of the shoulder girdle. The scapula connects with the clavicle, and these two bones are seen to form the shoulder girdle. All other options here as it relate to the scapula are incorrect. The anterior surface of the scapula is concave, and it is also located in the posterolateral region of the trunk and not the anterolateral region of the trunk. The scapula is not also an easily fractured bone, because in our lecture on the scapula, we highlighted that the scapula is padded up with a number of muscles, and this is why it's not easily fractured. So out of all these options, the correct answer as it relates to the scapula is that it forms part of the shoulder girdle. So now let's go to the seventh question, and this reads that the head of the humerus fits into the dash of the scapula. Is it the subscapular fossa? Is it the infraspinous fossa? Is it the glenoid fossa or is it the supraspinous fossa? The head of the humerus fits into the glenoid fossa. This glenoid fossa can also be referred to as the glenoid cavity. This is an indentation that is created around the lateral region of the scapula. And this is what receives the head of the humerus, where they form the glenohumeral joints. The eighth question reads that the sphenoglenoid notch dash. Sphenoglenoid notch, is it seen to link the supraspinous and the infraspinous fossae? Is it seen as a depression in the inferior angle of the scapula? Or is it seen to allow for the passage of the suprascapular nerve? Is it located within the glenoid fossa? Out of all these options, as it relates to the sphenoglenoid notch, the correct answer here is that it links the supraspinous and the infraspinous fossae. We know that the supraspinous and the infraspinous fossae are located at the posterior surface of the scapula. The spine of the scapula is what is saying to divide the posterior surface of the scapula into the supraspinous and the infraspinous fossae. And these two fossae are connected through the sphenoglenoid notch. We also try to highlight this in detail in our lecture on the scapula. So go to the ninth question. This reads that the supraglenoid tubercle is related to that. The supraglenoid tubercle is a tubercle that is located above the glenoid fossa. Remember, there is an infraglenoid tubercle that is related to the long head of the triceps brachii muscle. So the supraglenoid tubercle is related to what? Is it related to the short head of the biceps brachii? Is it related to the long head of the biceps brachii? Is it related to the medial head of the triceps brachii? Is it related to the lateral head of the triceps brachii? The correct answer here as it relates to the supraglenoid tubercle is the long head of the biceps brachii. So now let's go to the 10th question. This reads that the lateral border of the scapula is related to dash. Is it related to the levator scapulae, the rhomboid minor, and the rhomboid major? Is it related to the deltoid and also trapezius muscles? Is it related to the latissimus dorsi? Or is it related to the long head of triceps, teres minor, and also the teres major muscles? The muscles that are related to the lateral border of the scapula are the long head of the triceps brachii, teres minor, and also the teres major muscle. We go back to our lecture on the scapula. We highlighted the different muscles that are related to the different borders of the scapula. So for the lateral border of the scapula, the muscles that are related to it are the long head of the triceps brachii, teres minor, and also the teres major muscles. The levator scapulae, rhomboid minor, and major muscles are related to the medial border of the scapula, where the deltoid and the trapezius muscles are related to the spine and also the acromion. Then we have the latissimus dorsi muscle that is related to the inferior angle of the scapula. So thanks for taking this quiz. I hope you find this useful. Let's have your grades in the comment section.